What does success look like for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer his first year on the job? Now, I think we're going to have a lot of y'all watch this video as a one-off. So if you're watching right now live, we appreciate y'all. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're watching as a one-off video, this is from a live show that we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Games, transfer portal, analysis across everything across college football. We talk about it right here, year-round. We don't take breaks. Make sure you're locked in. We appreciate you so much in advance for being subscribed to the channel. So Nick Saban, just for the record, inherited Alabama in a different place than Kalen DeBoer did, but he went 7-6. A lot of context there that doesn't apply to Kalen DeBoer that applied to Nick Saban at that point in time. Like I just said, Alabama was not Alabama to the degree they are right now when Nick Saban got it, but I'm just saying he's 7-6. So what would be success for Kalen DeBoer his first year in Tuscaloosa? We're going to give you a record here in a matter of minutes, but I don't think we can just say this is the record he has to have, otherwise season is a failure. Let's be a little bit more nuanced than that. You got a lot of folks that are going to say he's got to go 11-1, he's got to win the SEC for it to be success. I hear you, but let's add some human components to this whole conversation. I'm really curious to see how Alabama looks against top-tier teams, especially in the SEC. And I think that's going to be a massive part of how you define success if you're an Alabama fan. That game against Georgia, September 28th, at Tennessee, which you never know what Tennessee is going to be, at LSU, new quarterbacks for both LSU and Tennessee. You're at Oklahoma late in the year. What's Bama look like late? Auburn's always tricky. I'm curious to see how those teams compete and if there's still that Bama factor. Is there still that Bama standard that we've come to expect from that team that Nick Saban's been coaching over the course of the last 15-plus years? Do they still meet challenges within the game how elite competitors do? Because for me, that's in large part a reflection of your staff and in large part a reflection of your preparation. Alabama has been Alabama for the course of the last 17 years. Yes, because they've had the top talent in the country. There's no way around that. But because of how Nick Saban pushed these guys during the week, how they prepared during the week to meet those challenges. Does Bama still meet Georgia with physicality? Do they meet LSU on the perimeter and battle with them at LSU in Death Valley? I'm assuming that's going to be a night game. How do you meet those challenges against the creme de la creme of the conference and of college football? Are they physical? Are they resilient? Do they execute their game plan? The eye test, I think, is going to be very, very important to determine success that first year for Kalen DeBoer. Also, I think we got to ask this question. Is there an established identity for this team? Is there an established identity? Because I think when you look at what they were last year, I don't know they really found their identity as a team until that game against LSU where Jalen Milroe went berserk. I think each team has a different identity, but again, in large part, you get your identity from who your head coach is, from who your leadership is. And I think for this staff, a big part of them finding that identity schematically is going to be able to shift what they want to do schematically and what their plan has been strategically at their different stops. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer most recently at Washington. Can they take their plan and mold that to their ingredients on the roster? Jalen Milroe is obviously going to be the most visible talking point of that whole discussion when it comes to Alabama. Because I think for Alabama, they have to be multiple, both offensively and defensively, to win at the level they expect to win at. I understand Kalen DeBoer has thrown the ball 40-plus times on average his last 4 seasons. I understand that's who they want to be. You got a quarterback who doesn't throw the ball 40 times. Bama, as a team last year, averaged 23 attempts per game. Bama, historically, has been a pound-the-rock operation. That's been kind of their MO. I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer has to be a physical outfit going forward, even though his offensive line did win the Joe Moore Award last year. I'm just saying, can you still have your identity as a coach and as a staff and shift that and mold that to your roster ingredients? We've talked about that a lot, but I think that has to happen. Show me there's direction from Alabama. Show me there's direction for where this thing is headed. Because if you have this kind of muddled picture of it's kind of Saban's team, but like a diet version of that, and then you kind of have some DeBoer influence in there, if you're going 3 different directions, you're not going anywhere at all. You're just tugging on the rope a couple different directions and having some stagnant, uncomfortable conversations and some not fun results, to be real. So when we talk about record, because that's what's going to kind of be the headline for whatever year one is for Kalen DeBoer, I'd put a record for success at 10-2. Now, I think that has to look the right way if you're 10-2. Now, a lot of folks are going to say, well, we win the SEC here, Bama. That's the standard. Nick Saban left a ton of talent here. That's the standard for us. We won the SEC last year with Jalen Milroe. We got to win the SEC championship or bust. I hear what you're saying. I love the passion. I promise you I do. You should have high expectations for that script day. You should feel a certain way about your football team. But understand now, you lose 3/4 of that defensive production from last year. You bring in a brand new staff to a new place. Let's give it a little bit of time to gel. I'm not saying you can't still win the SEC and win the national championship because you got the roster talent to do it, quite frankly. But I'm just making sure we're on the same page here. There could be an acclimation period for Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Now, the reason why I say 10-2 and the reason why I mentioned 10-2 having to look a certain way, I think Georgia's really tough. I think LSU's really tough. Again, where there's a tremendous question mark around Missouri this year. You never know with Auburn. I think 10-2 is the number that I would peg as the successful season for Kalen DeBoer, because when I look at this roster, I think they should be able to roll the ball out there from a roster talent level and be better than 10 teams. Now, being better at a roster level and actually winning the football game is two very different things, and that's going to come down to how they prepare this offseason and what they do schematically and staying healthy. A lot of factors. When we talk about success, I think they are better right now, today, than 10 teams that they're going to play. But 9-3, a lot of folks wouldn't be happy with that probably. 3 losses isn't something they really are super accustomed to in Tuscaloosa. But again, if it's the right looking 9-3, I think you could convince me that's I don't want to say success, but I think you would at least have some direction you could bake in there. But the bottom line here is it's going to take some time. The roster's in a good place. Nick Saban left some solid things in the cupboard on that roster for Kalen DeBoer, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page there. Success could look a lot of different ways. 10-2, I think, would be very successful in a lot of ways for Jalen DeBoer first year on the job. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.